Welcome, everyone, to yet another episode of Losing Our Marbles, a Talk for Two. This is Season 1, Episode 8 for real this time. And we have with us today Mr. Behind the Scenes, Yosef!
Yo, what's going on,
Welcome
everybody?
to the show, Yusuf.
Yeah,
Glad to
thank you for
have you
having me.
on.
Thank you for having me.
Always good, always good. So, I would like to just take a quick moment to offer my respect. You've dressed up for the occasion.
Hey,
First time a guest has matched tie for tie.
you gotta show up the showman somehow, right? You gotta bring the heat.
I like it a lot. I like it a lot. Definitely fits you very well. See, a lot of people can't pull off the soft pink, but you nail it, man. You nail it.
Oh man, I got this shirt with like 3 other colors, and for some reason, the salmon-looking pink. I was just like, yes. I think I wanted fish that day, but maybe I don't know. But it seems to fit. It seems to fit.
Well, I mean,
So,
if you're hungry for it, I can only imagine potential suitors would be equally hungry for it. So
oh yeah,
maybe there's some psychological work at play there.
maybe.
All right, sir. Well, as you know, the basic format, I'll lead the first half. Midstream mix-up, you'll lead the second half. Midstream mix-up going to be yet another thing we've not done before. It's great. Every midstream mix-up is a new experience. It's always exciting. I actually have a great question to start off because I think both of us are quite game theory minded. Just the ability to break anything down into its basic components.
Yeah.
There's a lot of avenues for that, whether it's actual game development or speed running or even just life itself, which is one of the questions I have written here. It says, how many areas in your life does either game theory come up or you apply game theory to? Answer at your discretion.
So, honestly, an easier question would be what doesn't get applied with game theory? Because it seems like everything I do, I try to break it down, and it can lead to overthinking at times,
Yeah.
which I've gotten better with over the years. Like I'm like that one person on a test where I'll be stuck on the one question. It's like, I can't give up on this question. I need to really break it down.
Right,
And next
right.
thing you know, there's 10 minutes left in the test. You still got 30 questions. You're like, oh, damn. But I would say, no, pretty much a lot. Like, even what I want for breakfast, like, do I want bacon? Do I want eggs? And how's that going to affect my mood for what I want for lunch? If I have this much, am I really going to want to go to Subway to eat lunch today?
Yeah.
Am I going to want to maybe just skip lunch because I had a good breakfast, So I would say pretty much everything in my life, you can pretty much have game theory involved. I mean, even when talking about like, playing, streaming, it's crazy how you can break down almost every situation and you can turn it into different outcomes. And then the hardest thing I would say is assessing the payouts in terms of like,
Yeah.
well, is this really that much better for me? Like, it depends on what you value. Is it the food? Is it the time that you're going to spend preparing the food or wasting in line, at the Subway because the person in front of you ordered like 5 subs? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you never know. But yeah, it's crazy. I mean, what would you say for you? Like, what would you say is
I'm in the
the
same
one?
boat. I break everything down. I don't do it as technically, I would say, especially in life in general. I try not to treat it like there's a lot of self-therapy I issue myself.
Yeah.
OCD runs in my family. So like, it's late at night and I take my dishes and I put them in the sink
Yep.
and I say, I'm leaving these here. They're just going to stay there till the morning and it's going to be a mess and I'm going to have to sleep with a mess in the sink. And that's like how I manage myself, because otherwise I'll stay up till 2 in the morning scrubbing every surface, right? So same kind of thing. Like, I could just completely dissect my life into just the spreadsheet, right? But therapeutically, I try not to do it too much.
Yeah. Like,
So day to day, I've kind of gotten away from doing it. But especially with streaming, it's always, what am I able to do? What are the limits of streaming? And what is successful, what is not successful, how am I defining success, right? It's a lot more open-minded, which I have more fun with. Something like StarCraft, where you're trying to be competitive. The rules are already set. What's successful is already set. Yes, it changes based on the meta, but there's no matter what the meta is, actions per minute is success, right? No matter what the meta is, more map awareness is success. So there's always those things where success is already kind of predefined and the rule structure is already there. So with streaming, it's a lot more like right now, my only goal is, did I get one follower today, right? As long as I have gained one follower, it was worth streaming because that means I'm growing, right?
Oh, yeah,
so
of course.
For me right now, that's mostly where I apply it, is to streaming itself. It's just kind of breaking it down.
That's interesting because with me, for streaming, like I know it's like I'm not a very numbers-based person when it comes to streaming, because streaming for me has always been like, the getaway. Like I do enough number crunching and all that stuff outside of streaming. So when I want to stream, my goal is just to have fun. I don't like whether I lose 10 followers or maybe a game. I mean, obviously it's better to gain followers and get more interaction and grow. But to me, at the end of the day, I just want to have fun when it comes to streaming, which is funny because I know that's like kind of the opposite for you in this case, because you're talking about, how you apply game theory mostly to streaming itself. With me, like your whole dishes thing, like when I have to do chores, like when I was younger, I had a really bad habit of procrastinating and just saying, oh, I'll do it later. Next thing you know, I have all the things at once and I can just do it all, lump it all together and just do it. But now it's like, man, I'm getting older, man. Like I don't have the energy like I used to. So I'm just like, let me just get over with it.
Staying up till 3 a.m. and only getting 4 hours of sleep doesn't really work anymore.
I went 4 years of college. Like recently, I just recently graduated like last December before this whole quarantining. Thank you. But like, it was just like the whole staying up till 3 a.m., waking up at 5 to go to work. Like that stuff, like it does catch up a little bit. I was like, oh, well, I mean, hey, it won't catch up if you don't let it, you know what I mean? But
that's how biology works.
Yeah. And
I can outrun my fatigue.
Yeah, now it's like I'm slowly like starting to like sleep more without like, I'm like starting to become a heavy sleeper because of it too. So that's why now I'm just like, let me just do it now. Try to be as efficient as possible. Like if there's something that's due, like let's say I'm at work and I have a deadline that's due in a month from now, I'm gonna start now. At this point, I want to have free time, especially during the summertime, at least. Yeah. Even though we can't do nothing now, I'm stuck in my house, trying not to get sick. But
But I think that also, I think that stems from a shift as well, because in college it's obligation. Yeah. And then beyond college, it turns more into responsibility. So if you have a project to do, it's like, I just have to get it done, right? But when you're in an employment or just even some personal project, you actually want your name is on it. And you want it to be yours. And so that obligation now is turning into responsibility. So then you want to have more time in case something goes wrong or in case it doesn't turn out the way you want it and you have to redo it. Yeah. So I think that's part of an adjustment.
That's the one thing with my major that I did, because I majored in economics and information science. In my info sci degree, there was not one class where we had at least 2 group projects. And you were always stuck with someone who just didn't get it. Yeah. And I guess it sucked because I was the one who seemed to stress the most. I was always the one in the group be like, hey, did you do this? If I don't get a response in 5 minutes, I'm like, oh, damn it, they're not doing their work. So, and then I would just like kind of low-key do the work for them. Be like, hey, it's better than what I did. I'm like, yeah, okay. But so I got to know the feeling of that.
Yeah, for sure. I guess that kind of ties in, speaking of group projects, to another question I had. There's always a lot of talk because Pixel makes himself so available, which is very unusual for a CEO in a business. And I was wondering, like, do you prefer, as I term it, the Mike style of business? Or do you think more like AAA studios just kind of spit it out, get the feedback, spit it out again, kind of? Like, how do you kind of feel about the Pixel business model?
Are we talking about like in terms of like game development?
Yeah.
Or just like
game development and even just operational?
I think it's important to have a vision. If you have a vision that like, and obviously visions change as you get feedback, right? Maybe the thing you wanted wasn't really, what is like reality. Yeah. I'd say what Mike's doing is a good job. I will say, as you get like bigger, and you grow, right? You start to have your own ideas, and you start to, you know, further pursue them. And like obviously, I mean, I've been around marbles at least specifically since season 4, so it's been what, August 2018. It's almost a year and a half, almost
Yep.
2 years, right? So I would say with him, when he first started, he was very reactionary. He was like, okay, in order to grow, I need to cater to these people,
Right.
right? So as he started to get bigger, he realized, like, one thing you realize is you can't please everyone.
Yep.
Right. And if the earlier you learn that, the better. So I applaud Mike for what he's doing. He has a vision. I mean, obviously I wasn't the biggest fan of hearing Taking Flight, my favorite track, get taken out the game. But when I saw Taking Flight 2,
but those glitchy tractors are they're perfect. The glitchy tractors, man, come on.
Man, but like when I saw Taking Flight 2, the first thing I did as soon as that update happened, I went to Taking Flight 2, ran a sim race of 20 races. I took a first look. I was like, what the hell is this? I saw like the clouds, and I was like, okay, let me see. I'm gonna pretend I'm Shen's here and commentate the race, and let me see how this is gonna go.
I'm flattered.
I'm flattered. And then when I see the race, and I see, like, one of the biggest things for me, for racing, I wanted to have a racing aspect. Like, don't get me wrong, aesthetics is good. Like, for example, Haunted Hills is a great looking map.
Oh yeah, but it's not a race.
But after the thieves, after the little portals, it's a bunch of nothing.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a track that goes for like 2 minutes. So when I saw Taking Flight 2, you can't really see the obstacles inside the clouds.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, oh, Pixel, what are you doing? And then I saw like the little invisible pegs. I'm like, oh God, yes, yes, he has something to make it. I can say, oh my God, he takes the lead. Like, it's like something like that. And then when I saw the little airport part, I thought that was cute.
Yeah.
I mean, I could make the insert brown man joke at the airport, but I would say I love the map. I love the, I love what he's doing. Obviously, is everything, of course, that I want. Like, not necessarily, but I mean, I get at the same time that he has his vision. Right. He knows what he's doing, and I would say a mix between AAA and I want to say more of a balance. Like, I still think, like, as of right now, Marbles is growing a lot.
Yeah.
Right. And I would say from my time being around, slowly there have been people adding to like the core Marbles community who stream the game every day, play it every day. There are some people who will play the game like maybe once a week, or like once every 2 weeks or something, or maybe they'll binge it a lot for like a good month straight, and then they don't play
like
it
half a season. 6 months. I see a lot of those half seasons.
Yeah. And I guess the goal would be, how can you keep them captivated into staying, right, without making them burn out? Right. So I think that's partially where feedback is required. And you might have to like actually like listen. And if something's constant, right, like if there's a problem in the game that's constant, maybe it might be an issue that you have to like solve or bring up instead of like hold off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but at the end of the day, though, they're doing what they're doing, and I mean, I'm proud of the studio. I mean, when I was there, like, I remember before Community Day, it was called Community Day. It was called Dev Ball Friday, where we
just win a Dev Ball.
Yeah, it was just you just won
Dev
like
V4
Dev Ball,
skins,
and the only way you could get exclusive skins, like my first season, it was I think it was the Radioactive Pulse skin. It was, you needed at least 100 marbles to even be eligible for that.
Right.
Now that's a joke. It's like 100, easy. Let's try 400. Let's try to get 4 prizes. Forget 2. Like, I remember those days, and the fact that the studio's grown so much, it makes me proud of them. And obviously, like, one thing about me is I will show my appreciation, but I'm not like the type to, like, I'm not the type to say I love you, but I show it. Like, if I'm nitpicking something, that means I care.
Exactly. I'm the same way. Yeah.
Right? So if I say,
I wouldn't be wasting my time on this if I didn't think it was worth it.
I know I'm on Marbles a lot, but I do have a life, actually. It's so, like, when I do nitpick, that means I do take the time. That means I care. Like, and it might come off as negative. It might come off as, oh, Yusuf, you can't be happy. No, I'm happy. I'm fine. I'm chilling. Yeah. But it's just how I show appreciation. And I expect the same for people. Like, I don't say, oh, why do you always nitpick? I know my hair is a mess. Why do you have to say something like that? It's not like I'm not gonna be like, oh, how dare you? I put this suit on, this pink salmon. This thing cost, I got this on clearance. I wasted gas money for this. No, it's like no.
I conditioned the facial hair and everything.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
come on,
dude, I trimmed this morning, man. I was Harambe down here. Like I show appreciation when people will I guess call me out on it too, or hold me accountable, because that's what I truly believe in. Like I wouldn't say negative reinforcement is how I learn, but I would say people keeping me in check is why I keep them around, because I know they won't bullshit me. So, and but yeah, overall though, back to the whole Marvel thing. I don't want to go on a tangent about how my life is, but
that's what this show's all about.
But yeah, overall though, I feel like a balance of the two. But I think Mike is overall what he's doing. He's doing well, and he's doing his thing, and the game's going to continue to grow, and hopefully we can see that that trend keep going up.
Yeah, the way I would put it is, you just have to ignore anything Tiara says in chat. Just block all that out. None of that exists. The way I would put it is, I would trust Pixel to run any business. The one caveat to that would be is, and again, it's a weird situation for Pixel, because he started at nothing and now he's where he is with over 1.5 million people playing his game. So that's a big jump over a very short period of time.
Yeah.
But it does get to that point where you have to start dissecting your own company, and it's a rough thing to do, right? So you can't dev everything.
Of course.
And at some point, you're going to get more people on board. And even at a further point, you might even have to just completely remove yourself from a whole section of the game. Like put someone entirely in charge of map building, or put someone entirely in charge of tilting. Like it will get big enough where you're going to need every little piece being updated every season. And it's going to get to a point where more than one person can do it. Yeah. And that's the challenge, is finding people you can trust to do that with the company you built up from nothing. Like that's a big step. That's a big step. Yeah. But again, I would trust Pixel to run any company, because he understands the importance of taking care of the employees. He understands the importance of communicating with your consumers. And I would think it would be successful in pretty much any avenue. So it's really nice to see it happening and working. But there are those caveats that you have to be careful of.
So obviously, yeah, like when you start a business, it's hard to give your trust up, especially when you're new to the market, and you have new employees, and you don't want to promote them too quickly because you don't know their potential. Like for example, I know, Enders, who gives out the prizes, right? Like it took a little bit for him to get access to that stuff. Yeah. Right. And I mean, even I would say I know Pixel from what I know is he does take off, he said it on his podcast, where he does take a laissez-faire approach or hands-off approach to his company at times, where for example, he'll talk to Tom and say, hey, we're gonna make this kind of theme this season, go wild. He won't say, I specifically want this marble drawn like this. Now he won't do that. Right. But I do appreciate that he does give freedom to his employees, because I mean, you don't want to micromanagement too much. Yep. Obviously there is improvement to that, whether it's taking care of the employees, or I mean, you always try to continue to be the best boss you can. But overall, yeah, I mean, I would say he does a good job for what he does, and we can hope he improves for the future. Because one thing about Pixel, he'll say one thing, and then a month later he might have his opinion changed. Yep. I mean, we saw that with the I remember a few months ago, I remember oh, can we get a crown modifier or a medieval theme thing? And he's like, I don't know, maybe. Not into plans. Next thing you know, 2 seasons later, hey,
boom.
hear ye.
Everything.
Yeah, I remember.
I even made a map around it.
I don't want to spoil anything, but I mean, Pixel's already shown it on stream. But all I'm gonna say is, how he used to eat Big Macs a lot and hamburgers and all that. I mean, next season, I'm just saying.
There is a diner title card.
Oh yeah. I mean, the modifiers have been shown.
There's teasers out already, so
let's just say you'll be hungry for a lot of the content.
So. Good stuff. Well, I've been hammering the questions right now. You have anything relevant to the conversation at hand at the moment?
Um, I would say like, I mean, let's put you in Pixel's shoes.
Oh,
What are some things that you would do right
oh,
now to add on to the game? Let's say there's something you have an idea that's like, oh my
like
god, I want this in
like
the
what I
game.
would do next season, essentially.
Like next season, maybe down the line. Let's say you're the CEO.
Hmm.
You're Mike. All right, grow the beard a little longer, dye a little red. All right.
I do have
What
red
what?
in the beard. I have all colors in there.
I got gray up here, but I have to comb it away so you don't see it. But what would you say? Like, what was something you would add to the game, or if also, what is something you would probably tweak a little bit that's in the current build?
Mm, mm. I guess I could kind of go section by section.
Let's do it.
Um, for community maps, I would implement a total votes up column and a total votes down column.
Okay.
If you see two 90% maps that are both 2 minutes long and both have a 10% elimination rate, you're like, oh, okay. But if one has 100 upvotes and, 11 downvotes, and the other one has 10 upvotes and 1 downvote, right? Like this, that's a big difference. Getting 10 upvotes and getting 100 upvotes is entirely a different category.
Oh, yeah.
So I think just adding that extra information, like you wouldn't even have to revamp anything. Just add 2 more columns to that list next to the percentages, and then have it sortable by those, right? So you could sort by least downvotes, most downvotes, least upvotes, most upvotes, right?
Do you think? Sorry to cut you off, but like, don't you think like, do you think it'd be cool if there was like maybe like a 5-star system, and it said like, you know how like iTunes has like the reviews, and they show like stars, and then it shows out of how many ratings.
Yeah.
Maybe something like that. So maybe like they took the fraction of that out of the 5 stars, and then it said, oh, this many votes. While this one only has,
having more than just yes no. I know a lot of people like the maybe idea where it counts as like 50%.
Oh yeah, the tiara meh. Yeah.
Yes. So having that count as a 50%, I think is actually a good idea, right? Because it allows you to say no to a map without tanking it, right?
Yeah.
If a map's at 90% and it gets 1 downvote, it like drops to like 84, right? It's like immediately erased off of the top leaderboard for the rest of its life. So
yeah, I recreated the old Eye of the Storm, and it's at 50%. I'm like, dang, was it that bad?
Yeah, so having like a 50% on there, I think would help people say no without tanking maps. But again, I think just having the list of total upvotes and total downvotes would be more information than most people need. Because then if you sorted by most upvotes, you'd have like 60-70% up there at the top of the list, just because they have 1,000 upvotes and 500 downvotes or something, right?
Yeah.
So I think just having that would give more maps a chance for exposure that are in higher qualities and can survive being played hundreds of times, if not thousands of times.
Yeah.
So I think that would be good. Or even that would be another option too, is you could have a most played, right? Like number of times played, you could sort by that. So just a couple more categories. I would have to have access to some numbers and stuff like that to really
the more info the better.
But I just think having 1 or 2 more categories in there to help give more maps a staying power chance, because the rating's good, but it's a bit misleading. I think that's why people get so bent out of shape out about it. Like I've learned not to care, right? Like here's a map I'm uploading. I know it's going to be 89% by the end of the season because it's a good map, but people just don't always appreciate it. Whatever, it's a good map.
And then there are the trolls who just want to vote nay on everything, just because it's you. So yeah.
So I mean, you always have to have that kind of perspective when you evaluate stuff like that.
Of course.
But I think to help mitigate some of that, you could just have 1 or 2 more categories to get them in there.
Yeah.
For Tilted, I think it needs to be treated like Mario, honestly. I think you need to here's what you need to do. You need to get your SNES out. You need to play Super Mario 1, and you need to play Super Mario The Lost Levels back to back. Just play through them all.
I love those games.
Beat the whole. Just start at the beginning and go through the whole thing.
Yeah.
And keep in your mind what happens, right? You don't get to the 4th world and there's 20 piranha plants all in every single pipe, right? It's 1 piranha plant shooting fire at the end of the level. And it's not even threatening. It's just there to be like, oh, well, that's the problem, right? And then 4 levels later, now there's a piranha plant in every pipe shooting fire at you, right? So it has that ability to give you something. You can deal with it in your own time. And then a couple level later is like, okay, now you're on our time. Now you got to solve it in real time, right?
Yeah.
And I know he's been thinking about that, of trying to make the game mode more of a puzzle, or like a journey to get through, more so than just RNG to combat. And so I've been restraining myself on contributing because I understand he's in a position where he just needs to get what's in his brain out, and then he can start listening to feedback. Mm-hmm. And I'm very accommodating of that kind of mindset. So I don't really want to
go nuts.
I have a lot of ideas, but I want to see what Pixel does first so that I can make my ideas helpful in the design rather than just flooding his brain with more things when he's just trying to get what he already has out.
But luckily in this case, though, you're the CEO. What you say goes.
Right. So I would definitely make it much more. I'd probably drop it down to 5 levels per difficulty. Mm-hmm. And the concept I came up with is a restricted and unrestricted tile set. So you have tiles that can not be followed by certain other tiles. So like a revolving bridge into a double hole room. That wouldn't happen in the restricted tile set.
Yeah, I got that combo.
But then in the next 5 levels, the restriction drops, and then you have the open RNG, right?
Yeah.
So for the first 5 levels, you'll get those hard tiles, but there'll be fewer in between because they can't always be followed by something due to the restriction.
Yeah.
And they won't ever have a bad combo, so you'll have time to play with it and a time to get used to it. Mm-hmm. And then 5 levels later, it's unrestricted, and maybe some more so you would have new tiles with full walls for the first 5, and you'd have old tiles with partial walls in that same one. And then when you go to the next 5, the new tiles would no longer be restricted, and the old tiles that had walls don't have walls anymore, right? So you have a substantial jump in difficulty without making it overwhelming.
Yeah.
Each time.
I think so yeah, it's like, because I mean there have been multiple times where I play this and like I've been doing the whole tilted speedrunning thing, and I've noticed like I'll be on like level 15, and my level 15 is harder than my level 18, and it's like you know, I mean at times it's fine, it's like for the speed run, but like I know like the progressive difficulty, you know, there's some times where people might just have really bad RNG and can't progress. I mean, we've seen that with you and like, you know, people in the higher levels like Dark Madden, and how they get to like level, I don't know, 50, like in the 50s, and for some reason they just get the worst luck.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
As far as like the standard operation, I would try to create a solid structure for updates. So we're going to have this many new trails every season. We're going to have this many new skins every season. We're going to have this many modifiers every season. And we're going to update one old map. We're going to create one new map within the theme. Like, create a baseline, an objective that carries over every season so that you can develop a consistent work output. Because obviously there's, you know, some seasons you just want to debug everything and not worry about updating. And in other seasons, it's in a good place, so now we can get a bit more creative. Like, I understand each season allows for certain areas to be worked on over others.
Yeah.
I think it'd be helpful to have like a baseline, a challenge line, say we need to do this much each season, and kind of build off of that just to kind of get a consistent workflow going.
I know back in the day, Pixel used to have, I guess, these objectives. Back when like he used to make at least 3 new tracks a season, he would add like a few, like at least like 3 trails and, you know, 3 spawn effects, finishing effects. And then I think he realized that for him, because I mean the team is pretty small,
right?
Like,
so it would have to accommodate for what is
and like
doable.
And I know like I think he realized that some of the product was starting to get rushed. An example of that was a collision course. I don't remember that track, but that track didn't line up properly when the marbles would like jump in the air and they were supposed to land in the funnels. I actually recreated the track if you ever want to run it, but it actually works.
I think Senshin did too.
Yeah, Senshin did as well. Yeah, and with that track, it was just like an example of I think Pixel was like he was just trying to push out content, and sometimes less is more. Sometimes quality over quantity. So I like that he is taking the approach. You know what? Yeah, we're just gonna focus on one track. And right now, as the game is getting bigger, and obviously, like you don't want to get to the point where it becomes the Call of Duty updates, where it's like you're updating an entire game. For just one update. So I think it's good he's working on optimizations. I know I've experienced a little bit of frame drop here and there when doing tilted or whenever it is they're running races. So I don't mind the fact that, you know, there isn't like set objectives, because I don't think like personally like the pressure That's like the studio already like overworks the hell.
Oh yeah.
I feel like
Oh yeah.
from what it sounds like, and I know at least for their mental health, they don't want to feel like they're letting the community down if they do put out objectives.
Right.
Maybe internally it would be nice, but
Yeah.
I know Pixel's
I don't think it has
an
to be
open dev.
anything high marked. Like I don't think it needs to
Yeah.
be crazy.
Oh yeah, of course.
Even if it's just one of each of those things I mentioned or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I kind of think of that from a business perspective is if you put the requirement of a certain workflow,
Mm-hmm.
then it brings to light what you need. And I think
Yeah.
they honestly are at a point where they need to start getting more people.
Mm-hmm.
I think they might need one more dev. I think they might need a couple more advertising people who can create content for them.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I would think that would be a good time now. Maybe not always, but for now. Because if you put even just a very small requirement each season, it's going to show you how much work could be done at a consistent level and how much more you need to bring in to keep up with that kind of an idea. And then if that gets to a comfortable position, then you can reassess and say, okay, now we have enough people to do what we want to do. How can we better utilize this group to make the most of what we have, right? I think that's just part of the growing pains thing. It's like you got to see what you need before you know what you have, right? It's kind of weird.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. I would say, like, obviously I know the people it costs money to do that stuff, but yeah, I do agree 100%. Like, having, like, the only thing is, and I think Pixel's starting to do this, Pixel used, like, he would, like, I guess define himself as an open developer. He would always develop on stream.
Yeah.
He would always, like, show off, talk about stuff. You know, people would come in and mess up his vibe with, hey, why don't you do this? Or while he's in his creative state. And I think it's good that Pixel's like taking a small break though. I mean, right now he's playing COD, he's chilling. But like, as far as like, I think it's good because like, I mean, at the end of the day, chat and streaming is a distraction, even when you're doing work.
Yeah.
So I think it's good that he is increasing his productivity, and you know, overall, I think it's going to help in the long run.
Yeah,
I really think. I think it does. I think it is.
He's just, I always try to like send him compliments in DMs anytime he does something really clever. Because he's kind of like a game theory genius, and he'll never admit it. But because his comment to me is always he just doesn't think about game theory. He just like does what it seems. But he's actually doing game theory. You don't have to be taught game theory to execute game theory, right?
Well, yeah, it's like I mean, a lot of people don't know exactly the definition of game theory, but they do it every day. It's like it's like when people learn about math. Right, when they're in second, third grade and they're doing their multiplication tables, they don't realize they've been doing multiplication their whole life. Every time they're like, oh, if I have $1 bill, five $1 bills, that's $5. It's like, no, it's like like some people just don't realize. So
so I guess I can kind of sway that into another question that I have here, going a bit broader in that idea of mitigating or managing large groups of people. I would put you in a community manager kind of position. I know that's not officially your title, but I feel like with the things you do behind the scenes and just making sure stuff is running smoothly, you're dealing with a lot of people very frequently and trying to organize and make sure projects are running smoothly and stuff like that. So I was kind of wondering what your philosophy towards community management or project management is, like how you approach those kinds of situations.
With me, first thing you have to do is develop, like, you know, a sense of motivation and confidence in the people you're working with. I think that would bring out a lot of efficiency. You can't, if you start like belittling the people that you work with, they're gonna be like, oh, why do I gotta I'll do the work, or just whatever, this guy's an asshole. You know what I mean?
Only enough to shut you up.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, this goes back to all my whole school stuff too. Like, you have to be able to develop a trust. You got to develop at least some sort of relationship or friendship that makes people want to work for you. You know, you hear the term like in sports sometimes, oh, I'd run a wall through that guy for that guy, you know? And I kind of want to be like that person, you know, the person who developed and who you want to work for.
Yeah.
And then obviously if someone has questions, like don't like hesitate to ask. And one thing, I don't want to be like a boss. Like, a boss is just such a dirty name to me. Like, to me, a boss is someone who just barks orders.
Right.
Hey, do this, do this, do this. I want to be a leader. I want to be someone who who will take responsibility even if someone messes up, right? Because at the end of the day, it's under my watch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if I'm the manager, or the project manager, or leader, or whatever it is, and I don't want people to be hesitant to call me out on stuff.
Right.
Now, like, I don't want people to be like, hey, you messed up here. Like, I'm not going to get defensive and say, oh, well, maybe if this happens. No. It's like, hold me accountable. I will do the same for you. And I think developing that healthy relationship is good. Like, obviously you don't be toxic. Hey, your shoe's not perfectly tied. This loop's bigger than the other. No, it's just like, I would say, like, if you can develop that good, like I'd say friendship, start off as a friendship, right? End of the day, yeah, I'm your boss or whatever, right? But I would say it's important to develop that person-to-person interpersonal relationship that has a mutual respect,
right?
And I think it starts with that. And then obviously when it comes down to work, I think I can teach anyone anything if I want. If I have the knowledge, right, I believe I can.
And that's kind of the philosophy of teaching, is your ability to teach has nothing to do with your knowledge of the subject. It's with your knowledge of your ability to teach.
Mm-hmm.
So once you know how to teach, you can teach anything.
Yeah, I mean, some of the best teachers can teach stuff they don't know how to do, So it's like, I feel like with me, and I feel like I'm a pretty patient person. I'm not the type to snap. I'm not the type to yell. I mean, you can probably hear in my voice, I'm pretty monotone.
No, I can definitely foresee you just going ecstatic over a telephone call.
Like, I'll just give if someone pisses me off, I'll just give them a look like. I don't gotta yell, but I would say, like, it starts off with the personal relationship, and that's when you get down to the work, because the work's when I'm in charge, the work's gonna get done regardless, whether if I'm doing it or that person's in charge. So I have no problem that the work's gonna get done. But if you want to talk about like efficiency in the long run, then I'd say it starts with the personal communication, and then it goes down to work. Like, I know, like in American culture, it's like work in the business, but you go to like Japan or something, they want to know you go to dinner first, do all that stuff, and then they do work. So
I think I'm in a bit different camp there, because again, in that project management, that's kind of like middle management. That's like in between.
Yeah,
and I'm definitely more in that top area than the boss category, I think. And
nothing wrong with that.
It's not so much that barking orders, for me anyway, as far as being an effective leader. And again, I'm not trying to contradict what you're saying, because I'm talking two different things now. You're talking middle management. I'm talking more upper management.
Gotcha.
And I think with upper management, at least the way I like to do it, because I was a department manager for 4 years at a grocery store. So this kind of stuff I was doing for team building and everything like that is definitely leading by example, I think, is the priority. People need to see that you're fighting for them.
Yes.
Especially in those multi-level management situations, like a corporate enterprise or anything where there's more than one overhead.
Yeah.
So people know that I'm fighting for them, for their resources, for their time, so to make sure they're taken care of, to make sure they're not being overworked, stuff like that. Yeah. And when they see you fighting for them, then they know you have their best interest at heart. So when you tell them to do something, they kind of pause for a minute and like, well, this is the guy who was screaming down the telephone for an hour at upper management trying to get us a couple more knives and a cutting board. So clearly he's not doing this because he doesn't like me, right? Like, it always gives them that moment's pause to say, well, if this is the person who's fighting for me, why are they telling me to do this, right?
Yeah.
And also, again, that leading by example is, I won't tell someone they're not stacking fruit right. I will work next to them, and I'll work on this stack of fruit. You work on that stack of fruit. And you see how what you're doing isn't looking like I'm doing, and how mine looks better than what you're doing. So maybe try to do it this way, and see how I got 3 different sections done when you're still working on one. So maybe so they see where the difference is. They understand why I'm the boss, because they're seeing that I'm fighting for them, that I'm doing better work than them, that I'm pushing. And the trick there is understanding where the boundaries of expectation are. right? I can never expect someone to do as much as I do because I'm the boss. I have to do more than everyone else because that's my job, right?
Yeah.
So that's the trick, I think, and that's where you get into that barking orders thing that you were talking about. Is I think that's bosses that have forgotten where that line of expectation is. They expect people to do everything the way they do it, or as well as they do it, or whatever. And one of the funny things my bosses would always say, just as a reminder, is like, no one's gonna mop the floor as good as you, right? even something as stupid as just mopping the floor. No one's gonna mop the floor as good as you.
The store, man, I've been told that.
You just have to, like, that is the best advice you could ever hear a boss say, because what they're really saying is, you are a boss. You're in a position. You have to hold yourself to a certain level of expectations, and you cannot hold anyone else to that level, or you'll lose all respect.
Yeah.
So,
I would say, going back to your apples example, I think that's a good example. Like, and it also like kind of ties into what I was saying about, you know, getting to learn how people like work. Like some people, for example, you could just say, hey, you're stacking apples wrong, do it like this, and they'll be like, oh yeah, you're right, I'm tripping. And then some people are like,
I wish it was always like that.
There's a couple people. I mean, I'm probably one of them. Like, but there's some people who obviously don't like being called out, you know, their image, or if you're next to another coworker who's working on the bananas, right? And like, you go to them and maybe you help them, and without embarrassing them, right? Because sometimes like it can be seen as, oh, this person's doing my job. Am I doing something bad? Am I like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Sometimes you can get that, like, that anxiousness. So I guess learning in a way, like how, just like, I guess studying someone, finding out how they learn, and then teaching them in a way that they can learn the best. Like, for example, some people, like in school, right? Some people learn the best by writing the notes. Some people learn by just listening. Some people learn visually. They need PowerPoints, right?
Yeah.
So learning the way someone learns, whether it's in a job setting, school, or like in this case, you know, stacking apples, right? I think is very important. And I think that's like a good example of like what you brought up, showing that you're still part of them. You're still part of that root. You might have a little more authority, but you're still them at the end of it.
Yeah.
So.
And also, just in the realms of like fighting for people, as far as like what that really means, especially if you are in that situation where you might outrank someone else. This is just kind of general advice to anyone in that position that might be listening to this. Especially in retail, when you have the customer interaction or any service industry. One thing I'll always tell people, especially when they're just starting out and they're like on the cash register where they're seeing every customer, so they're at the highest risk position, right? I'll say, like, I get paid more than you. And the reason I get paid more than you is because if something goes wrong, I handle it. Yeah. Don't put yourself in any situation that you're not comfortable in. The moment you're uncomfortable, you call me, because I'm the one who gets paid to deal with that shit, not you. Right? Like, kind of setting, again, going back to those expectations, is like trying to remind people that you are there to help them. And take a bullet for them, kind of speaks. Like running through the wall. It's not just getting to the point where the people want to run through a wall for you. You also need to be willing to run through a wall for them. It has to go both ways, right? Yeah. And so sometimes even just setting that kind of expectation or standard, and just say, look, I'm going to take a bullet for you because that's my job. And that's going to be like, oh, okay, I can feel a bit more comfortable. I can feel a bit more relaxed. And then they're kind of relying on you as that authority, as that protection, which then builds into a better relationship, because now it's kind of like a, you know, tutor instructor kind of thing. Yeah. So
it's like when I used to work at a shoe store, we had our district manager come in. She was going to do it. Like, our store was doing garbage. We were like in the middle of like some random city that like no one really, like, everyone was like low key kind of poor. So like the shoes obviously cost like $100 now, which is too much for people nowadays. So like, for example, in the back room, it was a mess. And our store manager told one of our sales associates, hey, go fix the stock room. And they only did like half the job. And then once the clock hit like 7 o'clock, like, oh, well, that's my time. I'm out of here. Yeah. So, and then the next day, the store manager had to leave early because they had to do something with their kid. And then we closed up. And then the next day, store manager pretty much took all the heat and like didn't even bother. Like they held them accountable, but at the same time, like they didn't just like go in on them saying you're fired, you're this, you're that. So they like, and once that person realized that, they're like, oh yeah, you know what, this I shouldn't be this lazy or this,
Right.
half-assing my work. I should really like, yeah. So
Yeah, I mean, it's just interesting to see how those other dynamics just permeate through everything.
mm-hmm.
It's really, I love it. I love it. I love it. Very few things in the world are actually isolated, right?
Yeah.
Almost all of it permeates pretty far out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good stuff. Any more questions on the topics at hand that you might have?
Not directly related.
Okay.
I guess I can actually, here's one. As far as, is there any, would you say there's any inspiration for you when it comes to your, or do you just do it? Does anyone like, you're like, oh, that person knows how to run a business, or that person knows how to get people in check or teach people properly?
Yeah. I do my best not to idolize people. So I'm always very cautious about looking up to anyone. I'll respect people for things they do.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm much more an idea man, right?
Yeah.
And so more than people, I'll notice ideas. And I'll attribute those ideas to people, right? I unfortunately have a good memory. So anytime I know of an idea, I remember who first showed me or taught me about that idea.
Yeah.
So I can usually accredit the right people. So more so it's the ideas. Like my store manager back when I was the department manager for the grocery store, they were the most by the book person. And generally you find those people kind of irritating and very boring. But the way he did it was so powerful. Like he wielded the power of the handbook, right? Because that was the only thing protecting him. If anything happened in the company, he had the handbook to hide behind. So his butt was covered no matter what happened, because he always did everything as instructed by the book. And as much as I don't like it, it kind of taught me the importance of having those protections in order. Like, you need to know what the boundaries are legally. You need to know what the boundaries are socially. And that kind of goes back into game theory, right? It's just like you have to know the rule structure you're working in. And so it helps as a reminder to like why these things are in place. Like every time you read something in a terms of service, whatever it is, the reason that's there is because of a lawsuit. Every line is a lawsuit. Every last sentence, even as mundane as they are. Like, do not use this software to program missiles or other like transcontinental
jargon.
ballistics, right? Like, no one is using Windows to program rockets, but someone did, and Windows isn't going to get in trouble for it, right? So they always have those. Every line in there is a lawsuit, and it's you have to remember that.
Yeah.
So I guess one more thing I could use to finish out this first half, since we're in the realm. We were talking about project managers, but I guess more personally, how do you approach like just a big project? Like someone slaps something on your desk and says, you have 6 months to get this done. Do it. What do you do?
I guess my way of doing it is kind of unhealthy. I don't really advise it for everyone, but I pretty much build myself to the most anxious that I could ever be and pretend like it's due tomorrow. And I got to do everything in the next 24 hours. And I just look at the entire thing. All right, I have to do this, I have to do this. Oh my God, I got to do this. It's like, and it's just like, it'll get me in a sweat for a little bit, but it also like prepares me. I mean, like, because I don't know if you've heard the term or heard the phrase, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yep.
So I guess I give myself this big anxious block of stuff that I have to think about. So when I deal with it piece by piece, it's like nothing to me. And that's how I kind of like, because like when I, like, for example, like in college, I would get all the syllabi, so I don't know.
Yep.
But like I took all those things. I would look at the entire course schedule for all. I always took 5 courses at least every semester. So I would look at the entire syllabus, put them all in front of me, and I would just look at all the work, all the readings I got to do. And I'm like, oh boy. And next thing you know, while I'm looking at that, I get an email from the professor. Hey, here's an extra reading you should do. And it's like, oh, Jesus, thanks. That's just what I need. But yeah, I would say like, I'd say I'm pretty numbers based when it comes to like doing projects like this. If I have to work, if it's just myself, then I can easily pace myself. Okay, I'm gonna do this by this. I'm good with setting deadlines that are manageable for myself. I would never do something that's like outrageous, like, okay, get half the project done by next week, even though it's due 6 months. I wouldn't do that. I would always have at least a halfway point at 3 months. Hey, at least you should be here. Like, I don't try to do too many like every month. I try to micromanage, because there are some nights where I'm just in the zone and I'm just gonna go through all that.
Yeah.
But there's some nights where I just want to, you know what? I'll just take off. Whatever. I deserve it. Let me get myself a lemonade and start, watching TV. But I would say I definitely have segments. I would say quarterly at the most. I don't say I would go any more past that. And I would make sure I have stuff done. I wouldn't say I have daily stuff. I would say weekly.
Okay.
Weekly.
Right.
So I would say by the end of the week I should have at least done.
Right.
And if not, then just add it on to the next week. But I try not to have more than a 2-week buffer. So let's say there's just 1 week where I just want to do nothing.
Yeah.
And I'll have that. And I'll have it just bounce off for next week. But if I have another week after, then I know I'm tripping, and that's when I need to start picking it up a little bit.
Yeah. But
yeah, that's as far as like, tackling a big project. I try not to procrastinate anymore. Man, there was this one economic sports class that I took.
Oh boy.
And
now that's a start to a story.
Yeah, and it was like the way they did the late policy was so devastating. Like, because it's like economic sports. I know all about sports. I can just bullshit this, right?
Right.
But at the same time, it's like the amount of sources they wanted, the amount of times they wanted me to cite this, and they even had like a machine. Well, like, I'd never plagiarized, obviously, but they even had like, oh, once you submit your test, or submit your essay, you got to see what your score is on the plagiarism scale to see, how much did you really do by yourself. And it's like, I always had a low score, but at the same time, it's like one time I had like a 31 out of 100, which is technically like a lot.
Yeah.
But then I saw it was because I quoted so many sources. And I had all the quotation marks, so I was like, oh, thank God. But it was like it was due at midnight, right? And there were four of these essays. I didn't turn one of them on time. Like every 30 minutes, 2% of your grade went down.
Wow.
Yeah, like
that's fair, but ouch.
Yeah. So like it was half a grade. It was half. That's what it was. And so I would never get done until like at least 1:30 in the morning. And I could have easily gotten like 85s on all the essays, but I ended up getting like 75s because I was like an hour and a half late each time. And I guess that class taught me, because if it's not worth it, just do the work. Don't bullshit, just do it. You'll be much happier. You'll like sleep. Remember that? It's pretty fun. So I would say, I would say college definitely treated me a lot and changed my perspective on that. Because usually I'd be like, oh, I can handle it. I can do it. A few days, whatever. But I definitely learned to time management. That's if I can say anything about school, that's the one thing that $60,000-$70,000 cost that much just to learn about time management. So,
no, that's really good. That's really good.
Man.
All right. Well, I think officially we have reached the halfway point. So it's time.
All right.
For the midstream mix-up. All right.
Should I get like another color shirt?
You could. All right, I'm gonna see if I can figure out how to do this the least bad way, because I did not prepare a separate overlay because I thought I could just capture it, and I still think I can. Oh yeah, there it is. So how does we? Ooh, and then we gotta just like shrink it to the background. That's all we gotta do.
Nice.
Just bonk like that. All right.
Okay.
We're gonna make it big, and then we'll just have to pretend everyone can see through us. We're gonna pretend everyone can see through us here. Okay. This is gonna work out just great. Okay. Here are the categories. We have perfect game theory. Everyone can appreciate. Needs some work. Unbalanced. And not even a sport. Okay. Those are the categories. Okay. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna pick one. First one is American football, and we're gonna plop it on the list somewhere.
Okay.
And we're gonna hash it out. We're just gonna rank various sports on what we think.
Okay.
So American football, where are we going?
Oh man. I can go all day with these. I would say I don't know if I'll ever say perfect game theory, but I'd say for American football, I could say everyone can appreciate for that. There's offense and defense. You have to try to anticipate,
Okay.
the plays. Are they going to run the ball? Are they going to pass? Are they going to do a flea
Yeah.
flicker? Defense, cover 3, cover 2, like man, all that.
Yeah.
I'd say the only difference would be like special teams when they're doing the kickoffs.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the only thing that might need some work. But that
Right.
that part of the game isn't as much.
All right. So you
So I could say everyone can appreciate.
probably pop it
on
right
that.
there. My
Yeah,
issue, I don't like turn-based games. I think turn-based games are always inherently unbalanced.
Yeah.
If ever someone created a turn-based game that was perfectly balanced, they should get all the money. They really should, because I just think turn-based games are just inherently unbalanced. So I would say it needs some work, especially when you go into like tiebreakers, right? Like there's no good tiebreaker strategy for football. It always comes down to luck at some point.
Especially,
right?
at least in the NFL in the past, overtime would definitely be like unbalanced because they would have the rule if you won the kickoff, the coin toss, and you elected to receive, and you score a field goal or a touchdown, then the game's over.
Right.
Offense on the other team doesn't even have a chance. But they changed the rules so that each team has at least one possession unless you score the touchdown.
Right.
So yeah, they improved that a little bit, but overall,
yeah.
I mean, I guess it's my love for football too at the same time. But
I mean, considering its popularity, I'm probably in the minority in that situation. So I think everyone can appreciate it's a fine ranking.
Yeah, like my little cousin, he's like even when he was like 8 years old, he was telling me coverages and stuff like, oh my god, why are they running this play? They should do this. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
What? How much Madden have you been playing? Like, yeah.
All right, next one, baseball. Where we pop in this bad boy. As you can tell, I did a lot of prep work to make sure this was all perfect.
Hey, I mean, you were just doing game theory, you were preparing. Oh, well, how much do I care? How much do I got to do for this? Maybe I got to wash more dishes and not stay up at 2 a.m. again.
Yeah.
Baseball. Like you did mention the turn based.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, I guess I can say need some work on that. The only thing I can think that is like near perfect game theory, if anything, is the pitcher and batter relationship. What pitch you're throwing.
Yeah.
Maybe what, like, where's it going to be in the strike zone?
That's really not turn based. That's real time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
But as far as like the sport itself, like if we're just like examining that relationship, that could probably be one of the only things I can put as perfect game theory.
Right.
But the sport itself, because there's also the ability to like steal, there's the ability to like just have an error in, like, if you're fielding, if a pitcher gets tired, you have to put the shitty relief pitcher in.
Yeah.
So I would say need some work on that.
Yeah. So going back to like that turn-based concept, I think there's two kinds of turn-based. There's interactive turn-based and there's non-interactive turn-based. So the next one being bowling. That's a perfect example of non-interactive turn-based, right? What one person's doing has nothing to do with what you're doing. They're completely isolated situations. So baseball's kind of in that realm, right? No matter what happens on the top of the inning, does not affect the bottom inning, except in the instance of tie-breaking or winning the game, right? If the one team's ahead and your inning run ends, you don't get another inning to try to catch back up. So there's a bit of a turn-based issue there, but it's much more, in my opinion, less biased in that turn-based because it's a bit more isolated than something like football. But I think with baseball, it's a lot more rule-based too, right? So like the interactions of stealing bases or certain tricks that pitchers or catchers can do to try to fool other, like there's a lot of play in there, which I really like game theory wise, because there are rules against it, but it's still pretty open. Yeah. So seeing all the fun little tricks people can do to try to catch someone out. Yeah. So I would actually put it up to everyone could appreciate, but I would say as much as American football is confusing to outside people and as easy to follow as baseball is, I think it's actually the opposite at its core. American football, you need to know very few rules to start appreciate strategy and everything like that. Whereas baseball, you need to understand all the rules before you appreciate things like that. So I would put it on the same level as American football, but for opposite reasons.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you'd be opposed to everyone can appreciate, but
I mean, they call baseball the American pastime for a reason. So,
yeah. All right. Well, speaking of isolated turn-based, bowling.
Oh man.
I guess first question: can we even get it out of the not a sport category? And this is something I actually have a lot of conversations with a lot of people. There's a difference between a sport and a game, in my opinion. And a game anyone can play. A sport requires an entry-level amount of skill development. So even like StarCraft, I would classify as a sport because you literally can't just pick up StarCraft and start playing. You need a certain level of skill just to start playing it. So bowling, in my mind, technically would not be a sport because anyone can just start doing it and maybe hit one pin, right?
Yeah, unless you're like me and gutter ball everything.
But there is a very large skill curve, right? So once you're at high top performance of bowling, it's much more of a sport because of what's being done. So I guess that's the first question. How do you define sports?
Man, like I wish I could like just say a sentence and sum it up, but I don't know. I guess with me, it's more like I look at it and it's like do the eye test. Is it a sport? Is it not a sport?
Yeah.
Like I don't really have like a set rules.
I'll know
like,
it when I see it.
Yeah, like for example, like stuff that are like game based. Just because I was like an athlete in high school, I guess this is the old grumpy me saying that's not a sport. Like I would consider them an esport for sure. Like I mean, damn, I watch like the Rocket League stuff all the time. Like I know there are people who watch like League of Legends and all this other stuff. I would consider them like at first I was like, no, it's not a sport. It's no real physical or athletic stuff. Like you won't look at some guy sitting on his couch saying, oh, that guy's really athletic, even though he's the number one like player. But at the same time, it's like the amount of training that goes into stuff. Like, I mean, hell, like people in Rocket League, for example, they'll practice like 12 hours a day,
right,
trying to perfect like a trick, you know? And I think the amount of dedication that it does take, I'd say because bowling is at that professional level at the point where it does make like a lot of revenue and it's like it's marketable and it's like there's a lot of skill involved and a lot of dedication. I guess that's part of what considered me a sport. Like I guess StarCraft at first wasn't a sport, but as it got traction, you can classify it as one now because of how many people, you know, started to play it and get good at it, start to learn the rules, control and all that stuff. So I would consider bowling a sport. I'd probably, for this sake, unless you're like me and I know I'm a garbage bowler and I just start trash talking you while you're rolling, like, oh, dude, shoes untied. Oh, aren't your palms sweating a little bit? You know, I would probably put it as like unbalanced.
Yeah, I think, because even going by that definition you're proposing, you could even start arguing things like darts are a sport and stuff like that, right? Because
darts really, is a professional league.
Difference between darts and bowling are very little as far as the game is concerned, right? So I guess we have different definitions there. So for the sake of argument, we'll allow it to be a sport. Somewhere between unbalanced and needs some work.
Yeah, I'd probably put it as like unbalanced.
Yeah, it's
like the lowest tier sport.
Especially with game theory, right? So this brings real game theory into the conversation. When you design a game, you need to keep in mind two categories of people: exploratory and perfectionists, right? And perfectionists just do it one thing as good as possible, like a speed runner.
Specialize
one thing as possible. And your exploratory gamers are going to be like the ones developing the techniques that the speedrunners use. So you know they'll spend 2 hours in a single section of the map, seeing which walls can be glitched through, seeing if there's a combination of moves that produce a gravity acceleration of some kind. Like they're the ones just fooling around. And to appease one, you need luck to play into the winning for the exploratory.
Absolutely.
And to appease the other, you need skill to play into winning for the perfectionists. So like even with StarCraft, right? There's luck in the meta. So if I build all siege tanks and you build all air units, well, that's luck, you know?
Yeah.
But then also skill, right? If I scout out that you're only building air units and I can transition my build really effectively into anti-air units, then the skill comes into play, right?
Yeah.
So with bowling, there's a little bit of luck, but it's almost all skill.
Yeah.
Which is good if a game's built around that, but makes it very exclusionary, and as most people would attest, not very popular, right?
Yeah.
So I would say definitely in that unbalanced category would be fine, because on a strict game theory mechanic level, it's way too heavily balanced in skill for the game it is. Not to say you can't have a game that's all skill, but it's having a isolated turn-based all skill game, like you might as well be playing by yourself, right? Like, it's just playing against yourself from a previous day or playing against someone else means absolutely nothing, right?
Yeah. For sure.
All right, boxing chess. There we go.
Oh, God.
Yeah, boxing chess.
Oh, man.
Okay, so it's a turn-based game.
Yeah, I was actually looking at this stuff up a little bit earlier today, and man, I was like, what the hell is this? Man. Sounds like something you'd flex at a frat party or something.
Yeah,
man, I don't just box.
I'm the third in the world in boxing chess regionals.
Dude,
like, okay,
I'm a chess boxer, bro. Get good, bro. Like, oh man. So,
well, here's why I like boxing chess. It's in all honesty, it's like the ultimate strategy game, right?
Oh yeah.
Because you're doing two things at once, and you have to strategize both. Like, do I just try to knock him unconscious so he can't even play chess anymore? Or do I just try to beat him in chess and endure boxing as much as possible? Or do I try to dominate both? Do I hold, like, there's so much strategy.
The physical and mental game are both.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
So just for that balance alone in skill, I have to say it's at least at the needs some work category.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. It has to be at least needs some work or above. Like, I would say everyone can appreciate, but I don't think a lot of people in the chat know what the hell boxing chess is. So I don't know if you want to like give a rundown of what it is for them.
Yeah, so here's how you boxing chess. You play chess for like 5 minutes, or it's a certain number of turns each, and then you box for a full round of boxing. And then you play chess again, and then you box again. And if you lose boxing or lose chess, it's over.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And here's the thing. I think it's something everyone could appreciate as an idea. Like, just the concept of we're going to alternate between boxing and chess until someone loses in one of the two. Just as an idea, it's like, yeah, that's great. But I think the execution is where the most work's needed.
What if we made a sport called boxing chess marbles?
Oh,
so after the chess part, you do a round of marbles, and that person gets like an extra 5 seconds in their chest to think about stuff or something like that. Oh man.
How about boxing marbles? That would be good.
Oh boy.
So you have no, because think about it, right? You both are on like a 10-minute track or something, right? And if whoever's marble wins. But if you knock the other person out before the race ends, then it's like if your marble's doing really good, you get really defensive. You're just trying to wait out the match, right? But if your marble's way behind, now you're starting to like. I think it would actually give some interesting motivation.
What if we use your 1 hour map? Oh, that'll be fun.
Yeah, right. So like, I think that would be really interesting.
You're winning the entire race, and then your marble cube suicide, so the other person wins. And you're like, oh damn.
And then you're like, oh shit, now I gotta like your marble falls off. The other marble's like 2 minutes behind. You got 2 minutes to try to knock the other person out.
Oh man. I think we just came up with $1 million idea.
There we go.
I'm gonna go patent that shit real quick.
Yeah, just having some extraneous condition on fighting, because a lot of fighting when it's at that high level, it's kind of like the samurai story, right? The two samurai just face off on the beach. They close their eyes, they open their eyes, they know who the winner is, right? But the moment you have like this uncontrollable factor in the background that's motivating their decisions. So if your marble's doing well, you have to be defensive, and if your marble's not doing well, you have to start trying to knock the person out. I think that would really help.
Yeah. Imagine just looking over like, oh, how's my marble doing? Ding.
It's like they're not updating you. You have to like look at the screen.
Gotta love it.
So good. All right, well, I think we can leave it at needs some work. It's a great idea, but the execution leaves something to be desired. All right, let's try to plow through these a little faster. Cricket.
Cricket.
Is that below or above baseball? Because really, they're the exact same thing.
I would say they're the same.
Okay.
At
Seems
least
good.
I know it's funny because my family's Indian. Obviously, cricket's big in India.
Yeah.
Oh, they hate when I say baseball's the same. I do it just to mess with them a little bit. Oh, it's not the same. You have to bounce the ball. They're wickets. They're this. They're 6 runs. It's like, okay, just chill. Just...
You know what's great about baseball? It doesn't take 2 days to play.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Wait. Oh man. Yeah, it's just a few hours. Not as many commercials as you'd hope. You know. Just... Oh man.
All right. Actual football, aka soccer. If I may.
You know what? That's. I mean, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, like here's what I like about it. It is slightly turn-based, right? Someone has to get the ball to start. You could have like a drop throw or something to make it perfectly fair, but someone does get to start. But after that first 12 seconds, completely balanced.
Yeah,
it's one of the perfect. And
unless
what I love about
like a red card or something like that.
Yeah, what I love about it, you can't use your hands, right? It's like you could use everything, but the biggest advantage nature has given you, which really brings out a lot of athleticism in the competitors. Like I think people respect soccer players' raw skill more than any other sport. Like maybe baseball or basketball might be the one thing people appreciate the skill more, like the Harlem Globetrotters or anything like that. But like soccer, time someone's juggling a soccer ball, they're like, how are they doing that? Because they're not using their hands, right? Basketball is a bit more like, oh wow, yeah, they're like juggling 3 balls while spinning one on their finger and bouncing one on their head. Like that's impressive, but I can kind of see how you can do that.
It's like a circus more.
Right.
That's how I see it. It's funny, the Harlem Globetrotters actually came to my school one time for an assembly. It was pretty cool seeing them. They were messing with the teachers a little bit. They got them to like take 2 Sharpies and hold their hand, and they spun one on each of the teachers' Sharpies. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, good stuff. But yeah, and again, it's not turn-based. The field is even. The players are even. I guess the sun is the one unbalanced aspect in soccer.
Yeah.
But then you switch fields halfway. So even then.
Yeah, unless it's like a windy day and then everything's rolling over this way. It's like it's Mario Strikers or something. You gotta love when Bowser
tractors just bouncing across the field, taking players out.
Oh yeah, there's random cows just flying over the field,
playing during hurricanes.
Oh yeah, the electrical fence is my favorite part.
Yeah. All right, so I think that one's pretty set and standard. We could talk for hours about why, but I think it's safe there. All right, hockey.
Hockey
is it's a lot like soccer.
Yeah. Like I love hockey personally. I mean, I would. I'm just trying to think the differences besides using like the sticks, and like you can't really use your hands in hockey that much either, except for holding the sticks. Like you can't throw the puck in the goal.
I think the one thing holding hockey behind soccer is the penalty system.
Yeah, like the 2
it's a little
minutes
weird. Like it's a very interesting strategy and mechanic to the game. Like it's very unique and it can be utilized, but it's a little subjective, which can make it a bit unbalanced, I think.
Yes, at times. I know like some hockey teams used to like pick fights with like the best player on the other team,
right?
Just to get him on a 2-minute penalty,
right? Exactly.
Just to instigate,
which is really interesting, but also really bad game theory.
Yeah, if you put like that one scrub on the ice and just start messing with him a little bit, start talking about his mom a little bit a couple times, start getting him to tussle. Next thing you know, they're both in the penalty box for like 5 minutes. It's like, hey, I mean, I guess that's the only thing. But then again, hockey teams, they're like, it's all professional at that point. They're all good enough to do the jobs.
Yeah.
I would say the only thing maybe is when the goalie freezes the ice, like freezes the puck.
Yeah.
Like if they save it and then they go back to a face-off at the corner in the wing.
I'd
say that's the only one thing.
I would say soccer's prone to the same thing, though. I know, like, especially being an Italian World Cup fan, the perfect Italian strategy: score 1 goal and then just keep dribbling the ball to the opposing corner and just sit in the corner. So they just tire them out. Like, that's a bit unbalanced, to be honest. That's a bit unbalanced.
I would keep hockey, as everyone can appreciate, though.
Yeah.
I would.
Cool. All right, NASCAR.
Oh. Man.
It's a skill.
Where's Anders when you need him?
It's a skill, and it's a race. I don't know about sport. There's a lot of strategy. You got to know a lot.
There's strategy with like the pit stop and like, should I go 2 tires, 4 tires? I know there's stuff like that.
When you're gonna push the lead, when you're gonna draft.
The only thing is, yeah, it depends on the track too, whether you're at Daytona where everyone's on a restrictor plate where no one can go over 200 miles an hour, so they have to draft, or it's all out. The only thing about NASCAR though that makes it really unbalanced is the fact that not everyone is running the same car. They all have different engines.
Yeah.
Like some like there's a Hendrick engine, they might have Joe Gibbs engine, Roush, all that. Some might run it's been a while since I watched. I know there was like the Chevy, I don't know if it's the Impala or the Monte Carlo, whatever they ran, and then now they have like the Ford Fusions and all that. So for that, I consider NASCAR a sport. I'm a lover. Okay. I would say unbalanced, but but as far as like the racing itself, I would say there is strategy. Like, for example, one of the biggest things we see in NASCAR is like at Talladega, for example. I know you're probably not familiar with Talladega too much, but like one of the strategies is find a partner to draft off of and hope to slingshot right at the end.
Right.
That's how the old system used to be. And there used to be game theory on do we slingshot now or maybe in a lap from now? Like especially when there's like a few laps to go. What if we go now? If we go too far ahead, then the draft will catch up and pass it.
Yeah.
So that's probably like one of the only few times where I would say the game theory really comes in, beside the whole pit stops, 2 tires, 4 tires. How's the track running today? But overall, I would say like usually the one who has like the best car, if they don't get wrecked by Tony Stewart or whoever it gets, like I would say it's unbalanced. But it's still a sport I enjoy to watch.
Yeah.
Nonetheless.
Yeah, I'm not in the same situation there, but you know more about it, so I'm going to prioritize your opinion on that one.
Yeah.
All right, water polo. Water polo. Definitely a sport. If you tried to play water polo right now, anyone watching this, you would not work. You would drown. You would drown trying to play a water polo match.
Man,
it's definitely a sport.
I mean, water polo is essentially like what? It's like handball, but in the pool.
Yeah.
Right. So it's soccer with your hands in the pool. Yeah. That's pretty
well. So the thing I don't like about it is the restricted movement, right?
Yeah.
So it's a lot like kind of ultimate frisbee, where once you have the frisbee, you can't move.
You can only move. Yeah, you can only pivot. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of the same concept. So it's not turn based, but it has that same feel of turn based. Like, okay, you're here, you're here, you're here. It's like playing the foosball.
Yeah.
Like all the players are in their little spots, and you just have to hit the ball hard enough, kind of thing.
Yeah. I would say needs some work just for the pivoting part, I guess, because you can't really move as much. And obviously, like when I used to play like handball in gym class, I was the one that people hated to play in gym class because I took that seriously. I was the one who used to get mad at like the really unathletic people. Like, you can't catch the ball. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, I threw it at 2 miles an hour. Pretend it's like your lunch or something. Like, I don't know. It's just like, I would say, I would say need some work just because there are those athletic people who could just moss everyone. You could just go to the opposite end if someone can throw it far enough, they can just lob it in the goal.
Skill only does so much to compensate for athletic ability in that. Whereas like
but definitely, but strategy does take place.
Right. With like American football, like, your linesmen need to be huge and your running backs need to be fast, but there's short running backs, there's tall running backs, there's short linemen, there's tall linemen, there's skinny linemen. Like even like what's the guy from the Steelers, Roethlisberger? He's like a giant, but he's a running back. Yeah. Like
he's a quarterback. Yeah.
Like so. It's that one.
I would say
needs
some work. It's balanced in terms of like the skill needed, but I would say strategy does. I feel like athleticism could outrule if you have at least a little bit of strategy. If you have no strategy, the person with the strategy is most likely going to win.
But there's only so much strategy.
I would say athleticism definitely takes priority when it comes to that. At least in my opinion, in my experiences.
All right, 2 more: rugby and tennis. Which one you want? Which one you want to start with?
I'll start with rugby.
Rugby.
So
it's up there. It's up there with soccer. Maybe not all the way up.
I like rugby. I've watched a little bit of it. I would probably put it everyone can appreciate for me personally. I know it's not. It's like technically turn based, but it's not. But like, huh. I would say there is some strategy though for sure, but there always is like I remember I used to watch some rugby highlights and there's this one really thick buff guy who would just truck everyone
Yeah.
and just run to the end zone and or kick it through the field goal every
Yeah.
time. So like,
And then there was that one uproar. They got an American sprinter, like a Olympic sprinter, who like didn't even know the rules of the game, but just because he could outrun everyone on the field would score him anyway.
Yeah, and it's funny because like I always hear rugby players talking about how American football is soft and all that because you wear the padding and all that. Yeah. And then there were a few people from rugby league who went to the NFL and didn't really pan out because they weren't skilled because they were good, but they were not football players.
Right. So that's kind of why I like rugby better than American football, in that the setup of the game is actually conditioning to its limitations, right? There's really no physical limitations in American football. You know, you will get concussions, you will get broken legs and everything. Whereas rugby, because you don't have the padding, you can only hit someone so hard. Because in order for you to break someone's bone, you would have to break your own bone because it's the same force going both ways. Whereas, you know, with football, I could ram my helmet into your arm and break your arm and not get a concussion, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I think rugby is a bit more self-regulating than American football as a game. And that also balances the athleticism. Like you said, like a rugby player, far less athletic than an American football player. But I think that's to the advantage of the game.
Yeah. Like, I can definitely, like, appreciate rugby. I would say recently, though, like, American football, at least professionally, I know it's been watered down for player safety because of the whole concussion movie that came out in CTE and all that. And I know they've been like saying, okay, now you can't touch the receivers unless they're 10 yards down the field. And if you look at them or breathe on them, pass interference. It's like, So.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
But I would leave rugby at everyone can appreciate.
I would put Aussie rules football.
Aussie rules football.
This is essentially just better rugby, in my opinion. I would definitely put that closer to the top.
Gotcha.
All right. And then tennis. What do we do with this thing?
Tennis. Oh, man, I love tennis. It's not necessarily turn-based. It's more back and forth, I guess.
Yeah, the turn-based is more the serve, but you can win in either turn. And some people are stronger serving, some people are stronger returning serves.
Yeah, obviously skill takes a decent amount. Like, I mean, look at Serena Williams, for example. She's been killing it. I mean, she won like what? I forgot what she won while she was pregnant. I forget, was it Wimbledon or something like that? It was just like some crazy stuff. So I know athletic ability does take account, but there's definitely like a lot of strategy. Like, oh, maybe if I bait him to this side of the corner, I can whack it this way, and then or just lob it over them. I see them, I'm gonna lob it over here, and like I played a little tennis. It was, man, I thought tennis wears you out.
Yeah, funny thing, I just recently found out about Mansoor Bahrami, who's a Pakistani tennis Pele, essentially. So I was watching his Wimbledon excursion matches, and I watched some German professional league finals. Yeah. And that, I mean, I have new appreciation for tennis. I wish more people played like he did.
Yeah. I guess one of the biggest things with tennis is, like, for example, if you wanted to play basketball, if you just buy a hoop, put it in your driveway, right? Yeah. Tennis, you kind of need the court.
Yeah.
And unless you're like in a high suburb area, like, I mean, sure, you could play tennis like on the behind the school and just serve to yourself on the brick wall.
Yeah.
But even that, it's just like
not the same as someone coming at you.
You're practicing hand-eye coordination, but not necessarily like placement and stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah, tennis is fun. I would say strategy does play enough. I would probably say needs some work only because I think athleticism does play a key role, especially when it comes to recovery in terms of, like, you know, the serve or, you know, the back serve or whatever. The return serve.
It's just less accessible, right? You do need the net, you need the rackets, you need the balls.
Yeah.
You
need regulation.
It's a bit overproduced, as it were.
Yeah. I mean, I guess something similar sport like badminton, for example, you can just put in your backyard, just have the net. Right. Or something like that. But with tennis, you kind of need boundaries. Yeah. Like, to at least practice decently. So. Yeah.
Cool. Well, none of that means anything, but thanks for indulging.
That was fun.
Perfect. Okay. Well then, let me. What do I got this going here Oh, I got it. There we go. Haha, I fixed it. All right.
Nice.
The Mitchie mix-up is successful. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Level up.
Yes, I passed.
All right. Well, that brings us to a good point now. Second half, we're a little over time, but I don't regret any of it.
Time flies when you're having fun, you know?
Trying to get into things more relevant. I have a way I can go here, but again, second half, you being more in charge. I would love to see where you go from here.
Well, let's see. One thing I want to ask. So obviously, like going back to the whole marbles thing, you've been in charge of running the Tilted tournaments past couple times.
Trying.
How would you describe your experience so far? Have you like?
Well, I'm in the unfortunate position of not having my own place yet due to COVID displacement and other things. So I'm not happy with my ability of execution at the moment. But I really like the format, and I really like the support, and I really like how, like, every time I do a tilting tournament, I go on Twitch the next morning, there's like 10 new tilters, right?
Yeah.
And every tournament, there's at least 2 new people who have never been in a tilted tournament before, and they're making fastest 100%. They're getting up to 35. They're beating their personal best.
Yeah.
So as far as an event, I'm perfectly happy with it. Everything I don't like is entirely just me not having my own place yet.
So if you were to get your own place, then what would change?
Well, I'll have business class internet, and I'll have a room devoted to it. So I'll have more flexibility with time. I'll have more flexibility with being rambunctious. I'll have more flexibility with being able to have more streams up at a time, or just smoother transitions, everything like that. Like, I'll just have more time to put into it.
So you would say, I guess, like stream quality, production value.
Yeah, it's all at this point just production value that I'm concerned about. I don't think there's anything majorly at issue. One thing that Tiara thankfully gave very good feedback on from the last tournament, because I've been trying to figure out with like the first half and the second half what's the best way to transition that. And I think we're going to go with the Tiara approach, with is just from now on we'll just do timestamps. So you have from 10 a.m. to noon EDT for the first half, and you have from noon to 2 for the second half.
Yeah, and I know there was
that's just it.
There was a little confusion last time.
Both times.
I know, there was a little bit of like a miscommunication. And I know like first half, second half, but like some people like didn't read the fine lining of when Shen says so.
Right.
Now you got to listen to daddy, right? So you got to like, so I understand like when that happened. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, right, you're learning. Right. This is the second time, and I mean, you've improved each time. So if you keep going in that direction, that's all you can really ask for at the end of the day. And if you're like, and it's not like you're some stubborn bigot who's just like not going to learn. No, my way.
This is going to work. I promise.
No, I swear, I'm telling you, it's working. You just have to believe. No, it's like you're open to criticism, and I think something like that is good. Like, and that goes back to the whole leader versus boss thing that I was talking about earlier. You're open to criticism. People are gonna like you. If you think you're above everyone and that you're perfect, you know.
Well, that's why ignorance doesn't run the tournaments.
Yeah,
there's a reason we keep them locked up.
Yeah, you just lock the door, put them in the closet. You're like, all right, after the tournament we'll talk. But no. But yeah, I'm excited. I mean, as far as like the game changing though, like for example, if let's say Pixel realizes that, you know, more automation needs to be in the game, right? So maybe timestamps will be in the game already, or if there's a way where, like, how would you say that would change that entirely? Would you still like want to have a staff on the back end to monitor just in case, or would you just be like, oh yeah, I'm running the ship?
Well, he and I have kind of toyed with the idea, because I showed him my tilt your own adventure concept.
Yeah,
and he was thinking of a way to automate that. So obviously the strength of my tilt your own adventure is chat can be as creative as they want. So they do things like circle around every third square on the map, or make sure my marble finishes between 2 consecutive ranks, right? So like between 47 and 49 or something like that, right?
Oh,
so
my
like,
God.
they get really creative, or use your foot when my marble crosses the finish line. All these like things you can't automate in a system, right? So that's the strength of my version. But I think he could implement things like that. I know I also used to have a death counter on the top right corner that would update every level. So even having an automated death counter could be something interesting for a tournament.
Yeah.
You could have the least marbles lost, and again, you'd have to make sure you have minimum join time and minimum marble limits and stuff like that to make it a bit more level. But there's a couple things you could automate into there with death counts, recording times globally or anything like that. And I know we'll talk about it later, but you're also working on a project in that realm as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a little bit of automation that can go into it, but again, going back to my appreciation of Pixel's business model is letting people make the content, right? And that's something I kind of want to push more with the map builder too. Is they're starting to make really specific pieces, like the Ferris wheel or the intermission piece and stuff like that. Like that's not the way to go, right? The way to go is what is called emergence. So you have simple pieces that, when put together, create something greater than the whole. So the more specific a piece is, the less it can be combined with things, and then you run into restrictions like that. So you always want to make sure you're working with emergent properties.
Yeah. Try to build like a piece of a whole, not necessarily just a whole that's isolated by itself.
Yep.
Like I remember you made a track that was with the wide pieces and it was like crisscrossing, something like that. And I know they're not perfectly aligned. You have to adjust a little bit because I tried doing something like that. And I was just like, yeah, fuck this.
It's not easy.
I'm good. So yeah, I definitely see what you're saying. But yeah, as far as like, you're talking about the content as a whole, right? How you try to, as Pixel makes content, you're trying to make more content with the track builder and stuff like that. Now, as far as like your content creation as a whole, not just marbles, I'm talking about, your podcast, stream, YouTube channel, whatever it may be. What would you say is your goals when it comes to your content creation? And what are some things that you always try to follow when creating your content?
Well, this, in all honesty, I'm a very big picture person. What I want to do with my life is a very long, secretive, convoluted list of things that I will never divulge to anyone. But I will divulge that right now I am building an audience.
Yeah.
That's the goal. So again, going back to like my stream goals, did I get a follower today? Great, success, right? I'm building the audience. And sure, that's going to change in time, absolutely. But everything I do needs to appeal to more people. So Standard Damage and I talked about this, like what is revolution and what is parody or plagiarism, essentially, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
And that applies to yourself, right? You can have a revolution within yourself, or you can plagiarize yourself. So if I'm just plagiarizing myself, I'm not making anything more attractive to more people, right? If people liked it, they watched it, and if they didn't like it, they didn't watch it. Sure, there's advertising and exposure and stuff, but essentially that's how it boils down. So why would I keep doing the same thing over and over again? That's just going to keep the same number of people happy. So in order to grow an audience, I need to do different things. And that's really the motivation is, okay, this worked. How do I do better? How do I do more? How do I take this idea and format it in a way that more people can appreciate, right? So speed commentary by itself, not good. But speed commentary in the context of a competition, speed commentary in the context of a tournament, speed commentary in the context of me and Bax having a showdown, like now we're appealing to a larger audience. Now it's becoming more utilizable. So that's really the goal.
Speaking of commentating, that's actually what one of my next questions is going to be.
What a segue!
Yeah. So I've ran a couple marbles tournaments. I've done a little bit of commentating. Now I'm not the god that you are at commentating, but I would say like, what are some ways that one could get better at commentating? Like, what are some things that you do during a race, or let's just use marbles as an example. But like, what are some things that you always keep an eye on for, or what are some of the things you do to keep your mouth moving, essentially? Now I understand there's multiple ways to commentate. Some people could just point out the points, but some people can be like an auctioneer and just point out everything. Some people are more mood based. What are some things for you that you, I guess, focus on when commentating?
So initially, you really have to treat it like improvisation in music, right? How do you improvise in music? People think like someone's just so musical that the music's just pouring out of them through some divine spirit. And no, that's not how you improvise in music. How you improvise in music is you practice. You practice every scale. You practice every chord. You learn some passages that you really like. You learn some techniques you really like. I know Art Tatum, my all-time piano hero, he invented a technique. Every pianist up until then told you if you're going to do a scale, you got to do 5 4 3 2 1 5 4 3 2 1 5 3 2 1, or you can do the 4 3 2 1 3 2 1 4 3 2 1 3 2 1, right? He just did 3 1 3 1 3 1 3 1 3 1 3 1. He just used 2 fingers. He could basically just slap his hand, right? It was just like hit a note, hit a note, hit a note, hit a note. And because he made it so simple, he could do it in any key, in any chord, because he's just knowing which 4 notes to alternate between. You know, you do C, B flat, G, E, right? Just right down. And you, as long as you had 4 or 6 or 8 notes to look for, you could do a run down and a run up as long as you wanted, as fast as you wanted, at any rhythm you wanted. And so in inventing that technique, he opened up an avenue for a lot more expression in his improvisation. And that's where it ties into commentating. So in commentating, you need to know what you need to say. So what is the position of the marbles? Who's in first, second, and third? So, you know, Yusuf's in first, Shezdevi's in second. Okay. Then I'm going to start commentating on Yusuf. Yusuf comes up to the tires, hits the tires, stops up. What does that mean for Shen's TV, right? That's the next sentence. I don't have to think what to say after Yusuf hits the tires and stops. The next sentence is Yusuf hits the tires and stops. The next person is coming in from behind. That's what we need to look at, right? And then again, going into knowing your chords, knowing your keys, you need to compartmentalize some phrases. And you don't want to do the same phrase every time. That's something I constantly criticize myself on. So when I edit those highlights and put them back up on YouTube, I'll see like, oh man, I keep saying on the left-hand side. And sometimes it's not even on the left-hand side. It's just a filler phrase I'm using. Okay, stop using that filler phrase, right? Get more creative with it. And so that's part of the refinement process. So that comes second. But first, you need to have compartmentalized those different formats of sentences and how things flow through. If you put me on a map I've never done before, I'm going to stumble. And you'll see that on Thursday Flair. If you put me on a map I've done 100 times, I know all the camera angles. I know all the spots to look for, right? So it's a familiarity. Again, that compartmentalization really helps. So if you're going to try to build it up, take 3 maps you really like and just keep doing those 3 maps over and over again. So you've removed the unpredictableness of the map itself, because then that's one less thing to focus on. And now you can really focus on your commentating because you're not worrying about, is this a left turn or a right turn? Is this where they dip down or is this where the hammers start spinning, right? You know what's coming up. All you have to do is focus on the progress of the marbles in the track. So the more you can compartmentalize, the less you have to actually think about. And then you just have to really worry about the flow of the progress. So you have a sentence structure, plug in the words, plug in the players, plug in the time, plug in the numbers, and say it. And then to get the flow going, you need to always do what, again, going back to music improvisation, you're always a measure ahead, right? The sentence I'm saying, I've already formulated, and it's now just coming out of my mouth while I'm finishing that sentence. So Yusuf is the tires and stop. Shen's TV's coming up from behind. Let's see if Shen's TV can keep it going on the next section. I don't have to think about that phrase. Let's see if Shen's TV can keep it going into the next section. My mouth's just spitting that out because that's an easy thing to say. Can you keep it going in the next section? But while I'm saying that, now I can like look back at the other marbles in 3rd and 4th place. I can look at the map ahead to see what the next section is. I could zoom out and just take an overall. Like I have plenty of where to go. But while I'm figuring out where I want to go next, I have that filler sentence to kind of make the transition a little smoother. So there's a lot of tricks. To build up.
And I know it's something you probably like. I mean, as you said, like studying through music, it takes a lot of practice, right? So like that's like one of the things that like captivated me from coming to your stream the first time when Pixel like hosted you. That's how I found out about you. So like, and then I was like, okay, what's this guy wearing a bandana? Who's this hot shot? You know, I was just like, all right, who's this guy? And I dropped my marble, next thing you know, and they're off. I'm like, oh my god, yes. Like, because I mean, me, like, I mean, as watching sports, I always love watching sports and hearing the commentators like go crazy, right? And there aren't many people in Marvels that do that. There aren't many people that color commentate or shoutcast, whatever you want to call it. So, like,
I
you
would
were
like
like
to
one of the
just
first
remind
people.
everyone there's a difference between color commentating and
Yes.
shoutcasting. I'm not a shoutcaster. I could shoutcast, but I color commentate, and there's a difference.
Yeah. 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 So yeah, I would say, you know, stuff like that. That's like, you know, it has like, it gives it that environmental feel. Oh, it's like there's a lot of hype built around it. Like, I know obviously with like the meta and stuff, you know, the grinders, right? Like they'll just like press the hotkey and they'll move on. I mean, you're not even grinders, like even the casuals, right? You see this with, you know, and it's just like, oh, this person, oh, hey, I didn't know you were here, hey. And next thing you know, they look at chat and then they talk to them. Next thing you know, the race is over. And it's like, oh, hey, next map. And you're like, oh, what kind of dry shit is this? So it's like, so like, I mean, with me, I guess when I try to commentate, like I always try to speak out people's names because like that's kind of low key what I look for if I'm streaming. If I see my name coming up, like I remember anytime I used to watch NASCAR, I would hear Jeff Gordon's name. I'd be like, oh my god, Jeff Gordon.
What's he doing?
He's in 17th, but damn it, he's coming. I see him. He has gas, like something like that. So when I see like people saying my name, usually like with most of like the beginner commentators, when they say your name, chances are you're like in the front. Not many people go in the middle of the pack or like in the back.
Yeah.
Unless like, you know, unless you're gonna like do a Zoom of shame or something and you get last. That's like the only time. But as far as like, I don't know, I always try to say people's names and it like captivates them because, you know, self-interest. That's what we all like. We like talking about ourselves and then obviously talking about the actions. And I always try doing that. And then like I see myself, I wouldn't say rehearsing, but with me, I would say it just got dark in here. Jesus.
Shadows.
No, but I would say like with me, I tend to draw a blank when it comes to like halfway through the race. It might be the races I run, but I'm not going to blame them for them being just straight lines. But I would say like I would be like, oh, this person back and forth. I would like name the top 10 and then like I'll be like, oh, this person did this. Oh, here comes this person. What's going to happen next? And it'll be like a pause for like 5 seconds. And I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm like, shit, what can I say?
Yeah.
So I guess like, because I try not to make it filler. I'm very like, I'm not about like, you know, like, and I wanted like help learn this on commentating. And that's why like I was going to bring up like, hey, you know how you have teaching tilted? Maybe you could do like a teaching commentating or something like that.
Yeah,
on one of the nights.
That could be fun.
And then, because I mean, I would love to see more people commentate on the races, and that's like, and it's like engaging not only in the community, but like, you know, it brings a whole like a fourth dimension in a way.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's not just like, oh, you're just a host for my marble races, give me points. You know, it's there's like that third wall or fourth wall, and that's what I always liked about, you know, your stream, and that's why when you did it with Baxcast, it was like a, it was. Just, it was crazy.
The whole stream was just like that.
Yeah,
but definitely the races.
That was awesome. It was like I could definitely tell you guys are both like just goofing off and like that kind of environment, that kind of like vibe that you guys had together. You know, I feel like that stuff could be spread, especially if just through shoutcasting and or commentating. You know, and I feel like if a lot of more people did that, you know, because most, like, I don't want to generalize, but a lot of Marvel streams like tend to just run the race.
Yeah.
And they'll look at chat. If no one's talking, they won't say nothing.
Yeah.
And one thing it would be nice to see is if people like if my chat's dead, which sometimes it'll be dead. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a dry person.
It happens. It happens.
That's what I'll start commentating on the race, just like, to keep myself, you know, captivated and stuff like that. And I enjoy color commentating. And sometimes if someone speaks up in chat, I'll be like, oh yeah, I'll try to like incorporate it in the commentating at the same time. But I think, I don't know, like you being kind of like not like, I guess inspiration or like the root of being the person who like almost not perfected, but like you were like the person at the top when it came to like color commentating.
I made it a
thing. You made it a thing, and you like inspired other people to do the same, right? I think if more people learn to do that, because a lot of people just have marbles as just a background thing.
Yeah.
They're not really engaging. It's more like, that's why sometimes, like, as a joke, I'll just nickname marbles as just chatting 2.0, just because like
as a category. There's just chatting, and then there's just chatting with marbles.
Especially if you go to certain streams. Oh man, yeah. Just have it in the background. Just have the person in cam just blown the fuck up, and not even know who won the race.
Yeah. Or they're playing World of Warcraft and they have marbles.
Oh yeah,
right.
Oh yeah, or maybe just put marbles in the corner or something like that. You know what I mean? But like, I think shoutcasting the races like that, I think would bring a lot of value, and I think it would be. I don't think who doesn't like shoutcasting, and if they're annoying, you can just mute them.
Yeah,
like you can still get your points.
Watch the race,
you know,
get your points.
I mean, most people who tend to mute are like either grinding or maybe the person's just being really annoying or their music is just loud as hell. But like other than that, it's just like I don't know. I tend not to mute the stream too much.
Yeah.
And like I always like. I mean, when I grinded back in the day, right, season 10, when I went to your stream, you were very slow paced back then.
Oh
right?
yeah. That's why I knew it wasn't working, because I couldn't appease the grinders or the community. That's what Bex and I were talking about.
Here's the thing though, like I always like appreciated that though. I always appreciated the color commentating. That's why I'm like, I'm only getting like 3 points for finishing first here. Nah, I like the guy. I'll stay here. I'll keep you unmuted. 720p, no quality options. All right, whatever. I don't need these 10 other tabs buffering. I'll just pause them. so I can like I can appreciate the commentating part, and that's what I guess captivated me the most of you. Like, and that's why I'm still around. Shit. I mean, it would be crazy though if you commentated while you were tilting. Like if you had the names on, maybe. You're like, all right, we got a friendly fingers over here. Now we got a turning bridge. Oh no, Yusuf fell down again.
This is just a bucket idea right here. Bucket of ideas coming up. I think it'd be more fun to commentate other people tilting. I think
I mean,
like that's kind of the tilting tournament. I'm getting there.
Yeah, I think it'd be funnier if
like just dropping into a stream and.
Dude, it would be great if you could just be like have everyone in a Discord and you can just pop in randomly, like, hey, how you doing? And then you just see them die. I mean, I'd do that if I joined the Tilted tournament, and I'd always have my Discord open. You can pop in whatever you want. Just go boo, and the next thing you know, all my marbles are gone, and I just have this stink look on my face. I just look in the camera for like 15 seconds, just like,
really, like really,
and then just giggle it off like nothing happened.
So go back to the commentary. 2 tricks that I can offer for free. This is for free, just like the points. So Pixel gave us those wonderful little info cards. So if I know a slow spot's coming, like when you talk about like something's going to come up and you have to wait for it to happen, just bring up the info card. So the marble that's going to be the first one into that section, now you have a good time to solve. What's their rank? How many wins? How many races? What's their win to race ratio? Where did they last win? What's their image? I'd spent a good 2 minutes on 1 hour map yesterday just talking about Pixel's stupid face on his Twitch profile picture. Just hitting the T button gave me 2 minutes of content, right? So that's one trick that always helps fill time, is just start listing off the facts of the marble. And sometimes that strikes up a conversation with someone in chat right away. So now you're talking about their career as a marbler, which is always something people want to talk about.
I was looking at my card this morning, and it said I won in Vixens. That means, oh, shoot, I only joined Vixens for the 1 hour map yesterday.
It's like, wait a minute.
Wait, I won? I checked the VOD. The VOD's like 12 hours long. Apparently, I guess they fell asleep or something, and my name was just circling for like 8 hours. I was like, oh, where in the VOD? Oh, how did I win that? It's like, apparently there were like 12 marbles at the end, and I just randomly got lucky and just popped in.
Nice.
Like, I wasn't even in top 10, and then all of a sudden top 10 was done.
Nice.
And I was first. I was like, all right, I'll take that 1 hour champion win. Easy.
Good stuff.
So
so that, and then the other trick is story building, right? The advantage, and again, this goes into what you're struggling, or your critique of other streams is, they hit the button, they start the race, they finish the race, and the race it evaporates. It loses all its meaning, which makes all the races lose all their meaning. But what I'll do, especially like on Thursday Flare, someone who died every single race for the first hour. Well, now it's like, can they survive a race, right? Now we have a story, right? So sure, there's like 20 people ahead of them, but now I'm focusing on this one marble. Are they going to live? Oh, they died. Okay, now I can go back to the start, or the first place position, right?
Yeah.
And so kind of keeping in your mind big things or significant things that have happened throughout the stream, and then just keep bringing those up and building on them. Sometimes it doesn't work out. But just finding any story, any narrative that you can latch onto to keep bringing back up. Always really good. Kira died. Yeah. No one's surprised. How many hours of content have I gotten out of just saying Kira died? No surprise to anyone. Like, exactly.
Yeah, I guess.
Exactly.
I guess that's an approach I never really like thought of. Like storytelling, yes, but like in that way, like relative to the stream, like throughout races, I never really approached it that way. I guess because like I don't stream often, so like I don't get like used to that whole storytelling thing. And as Tiara memed earlier in chat, I only stream for like 3 to 4 hours until I get like hungry or some shit. But I would say like me being like, I always try to like storytell like outside the community, like because I go around in a decent amount of streams, and I'll be like, and I'll see the same people, they might come to my stream. I'll be like, hey, you won in this track earlier at this place, maybe you can win here, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Something along the lines of that.
That's fine.
But like as my work's gotten busy, I'm not trying to make excuses, but yeah, it's harder to like pay attention a little more, but like I still try to hold on to stuff. And I mean, as new people come into the community who I'm like strangers to, and I try to like know as many people as I can. Right. Like, I mean, I've been around since season 4, right? And there are people who are still around, not as many. I mean, life happens, people come and go, right? So there isn't as much historical reference, I guess. But like, can you pull the Calm Day magic when you won the Starfield ball, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, and then I guess the other thing, this kind of touches on what Bax and I ended the last episode with, which was models versus actors.
Yeah.
The models consisting of people who want to be like everyone else, so people who are catering to the community aspect of just focusing on chat, not the game, and people who are catering to the grinders, who are just focusing on finishing races more than the game itself. And that's fine, because that's the body of the community. That's what keeps the game going. But if you want to get out of the pile, if you want to be out of the model pile, you have to be an actor. And as you expressed, you know, being a bit more colorful with your commentating could be a way into that actor realm.
Yeah. I guess with me personally, I just try to cater to myself. Am I having fun?
Yeah.
Like sometimes, there's some days where I can just crank races, and there's some days where I just want to chill. Like I never do that 30-second timer immediately go shit. Like for example, you'll find that out later with the whole tilted speedrun thing. I'm not doing 10-second timers for that. but as far as like, I always try to stay balanced, because I understand what people want at the end of the day. I understand like if someone wants to come to my stream just for points, they don't want to talk to me, they're like, Yusuf, look, you're cool and all that, but look, shut up, let me just get my points. Right? Don't get me wrong, I respect that. The fact that they come to my stream to begin with is a blessing. Right? I'm not gonna be like, oh, screw you, why don't you talk about me? Okay, I have feelings too, you know, like, who gives a shit, right? So it's like, with me, I try to keep a balance. I try to keep a decent pace, but not fast enough to where I'm just like, it's not pleasant. You know, I always try to do 60-second timers. I feel like that's fair. Yeah. But one thing that I've learned to do, and there are a couple of people who don't know how to do this, I know how to talk and play at the same time.
Right.
So there are people who might get lost in the chat. Next thing you know, it's been 10 minutes. You still haven't started that timer.
Yeah.
And that's where I go back to like accountability. I say, hey, don't get me wrong, I don't mind if you say timer. If I'm in the wrong, let me know. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, it's my stream, fuck off, I'll do what I want. Like, if you're telling me, if I'm playing marbles and someone's telling me, hey, go play Super Mario now, like, I'm like, nah. But if it's like something that I'm used to doing, you know, I don't mind being told otherwise. I mean, it's kind of why I have like Tiara around and all that stuff. It keeps me in check.
Everyone needs a Tiara in their life.
Oh yeah.
Seriously. If you don't have a tiara in your life, get you one. It's nothing like it.
Hell yeah. Man.
All right, well, I have a great way to segue into the end of this, so let's do it. We were talking about game theory and ranking sports and everything, but what makes Mario 64 so perfect? Like, honestly, like... Here's the thing. I was watching some more speedrunning info.
Yeah.
About Mario 64. And apparently there's a world I didn't even know existed.
Really?
I was like, I swear I played that game many times. And I'm like, where the hell was this the whole time? Like, I didn't know there was a room with mirror in it. Like, what in the... what? Like,
Yeah.
where was this the whole time?
Ah, man, it's been a while since I played 64, but yeah, there's
like,
always something like hidden that you never know. Like it's kind of why like I'll watch like playthroughs, like 100% playthroughs of games, and then I'll watch the speedruns because like I always like before I speedrun any game. This is like, for example, when Super Mario Odyssey came out, I had plans to speedrun the game. But then like obviously school and all that. But I wanted to speedrun the game, but I wanted to beat the game in entirety first. I wanted to beat the game, then I wanted to watch the game like entirely so I can reminisce.
Right.
And then I'd watch the speed runs to see all right where I can, because I'm more like when you talked about earlier, I'm more of the perfectionist type where I'm not the one to find the stuff, I'm the one that just does it.
Yeah.
You know? And that's kind of how like a lot of my Super Mario Maker levels were. Like it was easy levels, but they had like a couple frame perfect things.
Right.
You die right by the axe at the end. Oh, people hated me for that. I mean, good luck having 2,000 people in chat saying "fuck you, Yusuf." But I mean, I would say yeah, Mario 64 and other like games of speedrun in general. There's always some hidden stuff that's like crazy. You never know, like what could come up, and like some of like I don't know what speedruns you watch in general, but like there was one speedrun, Fire Dragon. He used to speedrun Luigi's Mansion. I don't know how much you played that game.
I've seen a couple of GDQs.
Yeah, there's a Out of Bounds speedrun, and then there's just the normal speedrun.
Okay.
Like where Out of Bounds is where they kind of use glitches where they stand in this corner and they press the vacuum like 5 times. Next thing you know, they're in like halfway through the game in the next room.
Right.
And it's like, wait, what? Like to me, that stuff like I wouldn't call it ruins the game.
Right.
But if I'm ever lazy one day and I just want to just try it out for myself, it's something that's very interesting. And something like the Mario 64 with the mirror room, that's something like it's like crazy. It's like I don't know how to explain it, but it's mind blowing at times.
Yeah.
Like I forget there was I think it was Super Mario Sunshine. There was one room that I never knew about. There was like a pipe you had to get with the rocket nozzle or something. I never knew it existed, and someone did it for speedrun strats. I'm like, wait, what? I popped my I got my Wii dusted
right away.
off.
Right away. You're just like, no, I have to see this.
I had to, and I was just like, are you kidding me? And I like sat there for like 20 minutes reassessing my entire childhood.
Yeah.
Trying to find that last shine. I'm like, oh my god. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I did have a speedrunning question too.
Yeah.
You've done speedrunning, correct?
Yeah, I've done limited amount of speedrunning. I wouldn't call myself a speedrunner yet.
Right.
But I've done like the splits and
because for those of you who don't really understand like the spirit of speedrunning and like how it still maintains respect for the game, is you have to keep in mind any video game boils down to one thing: what is the correct order and timing of inputs to get to the certain memory state of the game. That's every video game ever made. What is the correct timing of inputs and order of inputs to get to a certain memory state of the game? Now, to explain this in, I believe it's Super Mario, there is a way to put an input on a certain level that creates the same memory pattern as the end credits. So you can put in a certain number of commands at certain places in the map at a certain time, and then the game reads its own memory and thinks it's at the end title credits because it's the exact same memory command.
Yeah, the Mario World. I think I know what you're talking about. Was it like, I think it was Seth Bling or something like that? I forget his name.
I think Seth did it, yeah.
Yeah, I remember watching that.
But essentially, he never cheated, right? It's not a glitch. It's not, it's all he did was jump here, look up here, throw a shell up here. Like, he just played the game. And by putting certain inputs at a certain time in a certain order, he got to the memory state of the end credits, which is the condition of beating the game. So that's all it is. So if you can spam a jump button while holding up and glitch through 20 walls and teleport halfway across the map, you're not breaking any rules. You're literally just playing the game as it was made. Maybe not as it was intended, but as it was made. And that's kind of the point.
Yeah, in speedrunning, they call that cheese. And we like cheese the level, cheese the game. Yeah.
So, I always find it interesting trying to like wrestle with this, with the
And even,
morality of it, as it were.
yeah.
As we gamers go, we're very easily offended when our
Oh,
childhood memories are
I
threatened.
mean, oh yeah, oh yeah. Alternate strats, not cheese. Okay.
Exactly.
Fuck out of
Alternate
here. It's cheese.
strats.
It smells. It's good. I'm eating that. You monster.
So, just being in that world, anything you wanted to say about that community as a whole, kind of to wrap
Uh,
this puppy up?
I would say speed running is very fun. It's like it's kind of like a dedication for your love of the game
Mm-hmm.
in a way. Takes a lot of time. You don't have to be necessarily good at it, but usually when people speed run, that means they're gonna play a game, or you don't just speed run a game once and call it like, hey, speed run.
6 months, a year, 2 years.
Yeah, if you constantly like play it and you have a love for the game, usually, I mean, obviously there might be times where you play too much, you burn out,
Mm-hmm.
but usually you're not gonna speed run something you don't like.
Yep.
Right. Like, I mean, sure, there might be the meme like Superman 64. People speed run that and just fly through the rings.
Yeah.
But as far as like,
What a horrible game.
oh, garbage, absolute garbage. But if there's a game that you love, right, and it's like dedicating your craft in a way,
Mm-hmm.
where if that's what you're passionate about, and you can apply that type of dedication to anything in life, what like we talked about earlier with big projects, right? If you put the time and effort in to like reach a goal, let's say for example you wanted to beat Super Mario Bros 1, like I think the record's like 455, 454, but let's say you wanted to beat it in like 5 minutes 15 seconds, attainable.
Mm-hmm.
It'll take a lot of practice, you better be
Yep.
good, but it helps with patience. I mean, sure, you might rage a little, throw a couple controllers if you're that, into
Always
it.
buy extra controllers.
Oh yeah, of course, if they're
Buy in
not out of
bulk.
stock on eBay. But yeah, I would say speedrunning does teach you patience. It teaches you about dedication and like, persistence, perseverance, because you're gonna fail in speedrunning. You're gonna have
Yep.
runs where you're gonna reset, like, oh yep, I died, whoosh, start over. And it just practice. And I would say when you apply that to other things in life, you'll be better at
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah.
It's crazy because like I started speedrunning, I guess like 3-4 years ago, I would say. Started watching all the GDQs and stuff. And I would say like from watching that, it's gave me the patience. Like I used to rage at games. I never like
Yeah.
yell, but I was like
I've been there.
I was like foaming at the mouth. And then next thing you know, I just turn it off and I'd be like steaming. I wouldn't rage. Now it's just like, it happens. It's just part of the process. That's
Yep.
how you got to see it as.
Yeah.
Instead of like, that you're bad or screw this game or, the input, my controller, man, I swear I need to get a new controller. No, it's all of the process. And once you're able to learn that and apply that to life in general, I think that's like probably one of the most important things I've learned from speed.
Yeah. And again, like to anyone who's kind of confused as how you could play the same game straight every day for 6 months, a year, 2 years, it really is that progression, just like practicing a musical instrument or anything else, getting better at a sport. Pretty much anything we've talked about all day today. What a nice way to wrap it all up at the end. It's like I was going here from the beginning, oh man,
right?
So good.
So yeah.
But like, so you learn a trick, and for the first time ever, you beat Mario in, like, say you're going for that 5:15 time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you learn a trick and you beat Mario in 10 minutes, like for the first time in your life. Like the first time you played Mario, it took you like hours, and now all of a sudden you've beaten the game in 10 minutes. You're like, what? I can do it, right? And then you learn another trick, and now you beat it in 9 minutes. And then you learn another trick, and now you beat it in 7 minutes. And you're like, I beat it in 7 minutes. Like each time you make that next hurdle, it's an entirely different thing, because now you've moved on to the next skill set. You've moved on to the next section of the game, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And it really is that love of the game, literally. Like, it's not that you're just playing the same run of the same game over and over again. No, you're actually developing new techniques. You're trying new things in different sections. Like it's an exploration beyond anything you normally do in life. And as you said, it gives you different insight, because once you have that level of depth in understanding even just what the game programmers did to make the game in the first place, and how that interacts with you, it's a entirely elevated perspective in gaming in general.
Yeah.
So good stuff.
Yeah, man.
Well, what a great way to end episode
Yeah.
8 of Losing Our Marbles at Talk for Two. Yusuf, this has been as delightful as I anticipated.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Hey,
being here.
thanks
Thank
for
you for
having me,
dressing
man,
up for the
again.
occasion. Again, first guest to wear a tie.
Oh, yeah.
Love
You
it.
gotta look fresh, you know. Gotta brush the shoulders a little bit. Next
Well-
time I'll comb the hair a little more, gel it up. But hey,
Well, we do always end with any promotions that our guests have, and we may not have been incidentally talking about speedrunning right at the end. Do you have any news in that speedrunning realm?
no news as of yet, but keep an eye out for speedrun.com. I've submitted Marbles on Stream as a game to speedrun, where there's a leaderboard where you guys can like compete with each other. So there's nothing in game yet, but I've kind of captivated the idea with Pixel, and obviously, like on my stream, I created splits to keep track of my progress. Now that's not required for like to, submit a speedrun,
Right.
but you can literally just have a timer in the bottom left corner of your screen.
Mm-hmm.
Do the category, whatever we plan on doing it. It depends how much we have to change it if Pixel does overhaul Tilted like he said he might.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a nice way. Like, for example, I'm not good enough yet to get to level 56 like my guy right over here. You know what I mean?
57, but thank you.
57, yes. 57. But yeah, so to make me feel good about myself, I guess, I created speedrunning. Hey, I'm good at, coming quick,
Mm-hmm.
pause on that. So I would say, like, find a way to get people who are like, good enough at Tilted, give them another goal to reach.
Mm-hmm.
And it adds, hopefully it'll add a little more substance to the Tilted community, gain more people, because it's nice to see people tilting with whatever purpose it is, whether it's for peanuts or for skill or high score or whatever it may be. So yeah, hopefully that'll get approved soon, and we get a leaderboard. And then if you guys want to create an account on speedrun.com,
nice.
And then you'll be able to post your times. You'll see the official rules. And also one thing tonight, if you guys are aware, Nautics doing a tournament, Marbles on Stream tournament, from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern.
Be there.
So yeah, you guys want to be there for that. Again, I stream sometimes on Twitch. Maybe if you want to follow me.
I try to catch you, but it's like we're never on at the same time.
And it's like it's all a mood thing for me, man. It's like, can I stream? Do I got 6 hours to kill? Sure. And if I don't have that, I'm just like, whatever. But yeah, hopefully I can try to stream a little more in the future. But yeah, definitely, hopefully soon. Especially if the speedrun stuff starts to kick off, I'm gonna be balls deep in that. So
yeah, and I know we'd casually talked about kind of ideas, but I've had some more thought on it just to throw it out there. So split into the simulated versus live, and then like 10, 20, and 100 maybe, because I think that's how you're gonna get more competitive with it. You need a level playing field. So doing live runs isn't really going to be conducive to anything strictly competitive. So I think having a set simulated setup, because there's no timer for simulated, and you can do it online or offline, so people don't have to practice while streaming. So
my only thing, I'd love to do that. My only thing with that, though, is I know the way, like, one of the things in the rules of speedrun.com is they want you to, like, not go against the developer's, like, thoughts or mindset or whatever it is.
Right.
And one thing that Pixels told me, well, he didn't tell me specifically about Tilted speedrunning, but I know he said in the past that he doesn't want to incentivize offline gaming. He wants people to stream his game.
Right.
So that's the only thing. I would love to do a sim thing. I think the community would be much bigger, and maybe it'd even incentivize people to stream.
Right.
But for like definitely down the line, if I get to like speak with Pixel about that, that is something I definitely want to like incorporate, is having an offline sim, make it more balanced.
Right.
But for now, because I know Pixel's on this, speed, like he wants everything on stream to put the game out there.
Right.
And once the game gets established, then we could definitely go the sim route.
Cool.
So,
all right. Well, I don't know if this is all going to be in the same YouTube video or not, but thanks for watching. We're going to continue with Q&A live this Saturday and every Saturday. So if you want to see that part of the stream, you got to be here for the stream live on Twitch. Thank you, Yusuf, again for being here.
No problem, man.
Always good to chat, whether it's in front of people or just behind the doors, as it were.
Yeah.
See you next time.